Last year, I bought my first house. Little did I know at the time, it would turn into a much larger project than I expected. I don't know where my house went. It's in the beautiful city of Philadelphia and dates back to the 1850s. The house is attached to neighbors on both sides and has a little breezeway to access the backyard. Taking a look inside, we can see the living room, dining room, and kitchen on the first floor, with 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom above that. There's also 2 chimneys and 4 fireplaces that used to keep this house warm. I waived all inspections, so the first step is a little exploratory demo to see what kind of shape this house is in. When I was pulling up the carpets, I found these original newspapers. This is the Philadelphia Inquirer, 1949. Check out what we got here. Oh, look at all these newspapers. I can actually see in real time here as I start to regret buying this house. So I've discovered a lot of stuff. This is the one that scares me the most. 1.5 stories of brick sitting on just a bunch of rot, and the beam is entirely gone. This wood is like non-existent. I'm pretty sure it's termites. This is like the structural wood of the house, and it's all just kind of flaking apart. Oh my goodness. It's like a house built of cardboard. That's no good. There's that crack there running right here. All that is brick that's supposed to be structural and is powder. That doesn't look good at all. Finally figured out what's going on. You can see this radiator is just floating. These joists are actually sitting up on a wood sill plate. It's very hard to even see it. It's basically just disintegrated. So these joists have been dropping as the wood support under it has rotted away. The floor dropping, it actually pried this wood subfloor up because the cast iron wasn't moving, but the whole house was dropping around it. First, let's review the structure of the house. From the foundations, we have a series of brick walls. The floor joists are pocketed into these brick walls for support. There's another brick wall centered over the breezeway that's cantilevered on the wood structure and also supports the 3rd floor joists. Next, there's a beam running perpendicular to the house that supports another brick wall, which then supports the roof. This beam is critical, supporting tons of brick and also my entire roof. It seems like wood is tastier to termites when it's taking more load, and they destroyed this beam. The entire center of the house is supported with just timbers, and there's a ton of termite damage here too. Here's the plan. First, we're going to build a temporary wall on the 3rd floor to support the roof, then we can remove the brick wall and the damaged beam. Next, we're going to tear down the middle of the house, but save the stairs and the old wood floor. First, we'll pour some new concrete, then start framing. On the 2nd floor, we can cantilever out over the alleyway, gaining square footage and making the bathroom a little bit more functional. Now, rather than adding back the roof here, there's a great opportunity for a 3rd floor addition because we've already removed this big brick wall. We can also cantilever out the rear of the house for more square footage, and we can add a 2nd bathroom on the 3rd floor. In reality, coming up with this plan wasn't as simple as this. I explored options of keeping the existing wood structure, and I had to pay my engineer a little extra for my indecisiveness. Back in 2021, I graduated from architecture school at Drexel University, so I was able to save some money doing the design myself. Hi, good morning.
All right, hello, sir.
I just have some questions. For the permit, but I'm waiting on the permit. Isn't it a beautiful sight? And I know what you're thinking. You might be saying, hey, Chris, that's just 6 loose leaf papers taped to a window. No, it's not. This is 3 months of plans and paperwork and comments and revisions and $3,500 of fees. These papers are incredibly exciting. I talked to at least a dozen builders, but none of them would let me do any of the work because of liability, so I decided to just become a licensed general contractor. I dedicated a week of my life to getting my OSHA 30 certification and got all the required insurance. Problem is, I've never done this. This chimney towards the back of the house had previously been removed from the roof up, so now it's just wasted space and I'm going to save some money by taking it down myself. Oh boy, it's a whole lot of bricks. Check it out, no more bricks. The backyard's full of bricks again. Let's take a quick break from demo to share my archaeological findings here. So I found these old newspapers, which I'm really excited about. This fragment here shows a mammoth transatlantic ship called the SS Europa. This ship was launched in Germany in 1927. This one says there's a farm for sale, $3,500. Comes with 2 horses and cows, poultry, a barn, and equipment. That's pretty cool. These little treasures made me so happy to find. It's a great reminder of the age of the house. It is a cold, dark, and snowy early January day here in Philadelphia. And the good news is the framers should be coming today. It's 8 a.m. right now. Start getting this lumber up where it needs to be on the 3rd floor. Today is the start of day 2 of having the framing crew here. Yesterday, they tore down this whole brick wall. I'm on the 3rd floor, and it's entirely open to the elements on this brisk, like 23-degree morning here in Philadelphia. You can't really pour concrete under 40 degrees, so we're gonna have to wait for a really good day to pour concrete. And right now, we're about to tear off the roof and start tearing down some of this middle section of the house. So far, the weather that I can see for the next 10 days, it's getting down in the 20s at night. That's no good. Rather than trying to force the progress, we got everything tarped off and waited for better weather. The only day that will work with concrete is we have one 40-degree night this Thursday. It's currently Monday. So with that said, let's tear off this roof. This much demo creates a lot of waste, and because of the small site, it's expensive to get rid of. The house is on a one-way street that's too narrow for a dumpster. Waste is staged in the backyard and then moved by hand through the alleyway to a truck, and it's always an issue blocking traffic if there's not a parking space. Now that the house is down, we can worry about the foundation. First, we need to temporarily support the first floor joist so we can remove this old brick on top of the rubble stone foundation. To tie the old foundation to the new one, we're going to embed rebar with a special epoxy, add a whole lot more rebar, and then we can pour our concrete. So we have these post-installed anchors. These are the things that required the special inspection. And the engineer actually came out and had to watch us put in the epoxy and blow out the holes and do the whole deal. Then he writes a report that the city will get. It's just such a good feeling, and it feels like now, finally, this is the tipping point where we are making things better. The new concrete is covered, and we wait a week for it to build some strength before we start the next step. We have the cantilever framing, which is pretty intense, just like downstairs with the cantilever. We have a triple 2x10 there, 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 and another triple 2x10 right there. That's pretty crazy, lots of triples. And that's all just to get me 2 feet here. After a ton of deliberation and back and forth with the framer, the structural engineer, and now with some masonry experts, finally have a plan for this wall. Remember this old beam? Well, it's finally time to replace it, and that wall is this wall where that beam used to sit. We need to replace this beam and also add a ridge beam for the support of the roof. The original plan was to support the ridge beam from a column on the left and on the existing brick wall to the right. Unfortunately, that brick wall was in pretty bad shape and I didn't trust it to support my roof, so we need a new plan. First, we're going to remove the damaged brick down to something solid, then we can embed rebar just like we did in the foundation with epoxy, and also steel hardware for the beam. Then we can encase this all in concrete. This will provide better load distribution and a mechanical connection for our new beam. Then we're going to support the ridge beam from 2 columns. I have another 2 inches to take off here, but we're close. 16 foot, 5.5 by 9.25 is a heavy beam. Yep. Woo. One end of this beam is going to be pocketed into masonry, so first I'm adding a fire cut to the top of the beam, then I can wrap it to prevent moisture coming from the brick. Hold on a second. Didn't wood-eating termites destroy this house and now I'm framing it back in wood? How am I going to stop this from happening again? Defense number 1. I got the soil around my house treated to make it toxic to termites for many years. Defense number 2. Keep the wood dry with proper flashing and things like sill seal at the foundation. Defense number 3. Treat all wood with boric air to make it toxic to termites. Most Philly row homes only really get light from the front and back of the house, leaving the center very dark. And like most houses, the public space is on the first floor and private bedrooms above. My favorite feature of the new design is this double height space with skylights above to bring natural light deep into the home. The public space of the house now extends through this vertical atrium up to a third floor studio with bedrooms on the perimeter. With operable skylights above, this is also a great opportunity for natural ventilation with the stack effect. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know how I'm going to move this large monstera to the new house, but when I do, it's going to have a wonderful home full of great natural light. As you enter the home, you immediately see the history with these 168-year-old floor joists on display in the living room ceiling. The proportions of a Philadelphia row home are challenging with this long linear space. I'm able to keep the layout open while still creating distinct spaces by creating variations in the ceiling. I also shifted the kitchen to the center of the house, and it was a tough design problem because it was too narrow for an island but too wide for countertop on each side, so this built-in seating with a table that can double as an island was a great solution. I'm incredibly excited to be partnering with Kohler on the finishes. This is their new Synthos workstation sink, which is incredible for maximizing functionality with limited counter space. I stopped by my local Kohler signature store because seeing things in person is super helpful when choosing finishes. Kohler was founded back in 1873, making it almost as old as my house, and they have a long history of exquisite craftsmanship. The theme of the house is contrasting old and new, and I wanted to carry that into the bathrooms. I chose this floating vanity, and I'm adding a floating shelf that's going to be made of salvaged wood, and I'm contrasting that with more traditional trim around the shower opening, which reads nicely with the classic design of the Memoirs stately toilet from Kohler. Speaking of salvaged wood, I saved a whole lot of it. Yeah, that's a lot of wood. I also saved a ton of good bricks, because I'm sure they'll come in handy. Just sweeping up water. You know, just normal construction site type of things. I am so sick of not having a roof. Unfortunately, there's a little bit more framing to do. We need to remove some of the existing rafters so we can install new triple 2x8s with headers for our skylights. Can you see the conflict? Yeah, we have another chimney to remove.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, this hole in the brick wall just goes into my neighbor's house. Looks like we have some masonry to do. My knees are killing me. The job is done, hole is no more. Okay, well, the job isn't quite done. I decided to just remove this chimney all the way down to the 3rd floor just to get some more space. I decided to keep this inactive fireplace on the 2nd floor, and it made for a nice chute for the waste. The last bucket dump of the day, I hope. Yeah, it's like nothing ever happened up here. We got the framing done for the skylight in the existing roof. Now we can get rid of a lot of the temporary support that was up on the 3rd floor, and finally move forward with the roof. This is Max from Paragon Exterior. He saw what I was doing here on YouTube, wanted to be a part of the project, and offered to do my roof for free. That's an offer you can't turn down. We took a drive to check out some of their other projects, and Paragon Exterior does great work.
We have such an incredible team around us. We want to be able to help people. We want to offer a quality product, work with integrity, we build with quality, and having that team, I gotta say, that's honestly one of the most important aspects of the company.
They got this finished in just one day, and it looks awesome. If you have a roof project in the surrounding Philadelphia area, give them a call. The sheathing is structural plywood, and on the right side of the house you can see an extra layer of Den's glass for fireproofing. We're now ready to get our windows installed and our siding installed. Finally dried in, but there are some massive water issues still remaining. That brings us to our next step. Let's take a look at the existing rainwater management system. Water from the front roof travels down a gutter into a cast iron drain pipe in the basement and out to the street sewer. There's a drain in the back alley that collects all rainwater from the roof and the backyard, which feeds into a cast iron line in the basement and again out to the sewer. Unfortunately, this section of cast iron in the basement has a giant crack in the bottom, and even worse, the cast iron connection through my foundation to the street sewer is also cracked. Welcome to my Philadelphia basement. And we have a problem. A mold problem. In hindsight, these results aren't surprising, keeping wood in a damp basement. It was just 2 weeks ago I moved all this down here. Now we gotta move it all back upstairs. To resolve these issues, we pretty much need to overhaul the entire plumbing system, from new cast iron going through the foundation, new PVC in the basement, and a new PVC vent stack to catch both bathrooms. For the water supply system, we're going to use PEX and run it everywhere it needs to go.
Today what we got going on here, we have a water service being replaced from the back of the curb stop to the interior of the home. We also have a curb trap being brought in with the new main drain to connect to the inside of the work we already did. Roughly about 7 feet down for the sewer and about 4 feet down for the main.
Man, it feels like just 2 weeks ago that we were moving all this wood out of the basement. Now the wood's back in the basement. This old wood has moved around so much. Into the basement, onto the wood rack, out of the basement, clean it up, bring it back to the basement. Now I'm pretty confident that the humidity will stay at bay down here and I can store stuff down here for at least a little while. So that's a big win. The next system to talk about is heating and cooling. The original house just had 4 fireplaces to keep it warm, and later a radiator system was added. Unfortunately, we did have to remove this because of the extent of demolition, and also it's not a system that provides AC. The new system starts with a gas furnace and air handler in the basement connected with a line set to an AC condenser unit on the roof. A series of supply and return ducts distribute heated or cooled air through the house. Next, there's a ductless heat pump with a wall-mounted head and an outdoor compressor for supplemental heating and cooling in the open third-floor studio space. This is the old knob and tube electric. These are little porcelain knobs and they connect to this tube. Also porcelain that kind of protects the wire as it goes through the joist. I don't know much about how this functions compared to like Romex and today's wiring. What I do know is that this type of wiring is a fire hazard. So let's take a look at the new electrical system. I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm not doing it. I'm not modeling every wire. I'm not modeling every outlet. Do you know how long it took to do the plumbing and the HVAC? I'm drawing the line there. Show an outlet, show an electrical panel, just give them the gist. Okay, so we have a 200 amp panel, new electrical service. We got outlets, you know, we got light switches. Pretty cool. Scope creep is an unfortunate reality anytime you're renovating an old home. Through the demo process, you learn things, plans change, and you have to adapt on the fly. All the numbers I got from subcontractors are for fixed scopes of work, so any of these additional changes are going to mean additional cost. If I was working with a typical GC, I'd be hit with a ton of change orders, making the project more expensive than I thought it would be. But being the GC, I had the opportunity to just do this work myself after watching the framers and learning a ton through the project. Getting this hands-on experience was valuable to me and also saves money. One of the main things I didn't get quoted in the beginning is furring out some of these masonry walls, which add space for insulation as well as a cavity for electrical. Welcome to this week's episode of Framing a Wall in an old Philadelphia row home during a heat wave. Quick temperature check. It's 96 degrees with an excessive heat warning and it feels like 103. Fun stuff. Battery troubles. Right about there. Locked in. All right. To make sure this whole wall is plumb, you can use this laser sighted all the way along the bottom plate to transfer that up to the top plate. Then all the studs in between should be plumb as well. Looking good. Looking good. It's hard because my hand blocks the laser. Yeah. My batteries are actually starting to overheat. I am too. Whew. I'm dripping sweat. Dripping. All right, bottom plate installed, top plate installed. Now we just gotta fill it with studs, the easy part. The process of putting in these studs can become quite repetitive in the heat. First, measure 24 inches from the last stud. Move the ladder. Measure the stud height. Sweat through your pants. Choose a stud. This one sucks. Choose a better one. Measure the stud. Mark the stud. Mark the stud again so you don't lose your mark. Cut the stud. You've been working so hard, you deserve a little break. Get yourself some lukewarm water. Try not to get heat stroke, but don't get used to it. Get the stud in place. Move the ladder. Wipe the sweat out of your eyes so you can see while you operate dangerous construction tools. Nail the stud. Make sure the stud is plumb. More nails. Filming all those steps made it twice as hard. But there's something about the heat that's kind of inspiring creatively, because I'm too tired to work really fast, and in some way moving the camera and setting up shots means that I don't have to work as hard. So that's cool. Another big job that was unexpected that I decided to tackle was replacing this main structural column of my old stair, which was obliterated by termites. This part worked in my head, but I don't know if it's gonna work in real life. There we go. Yeah, it's a tight fit. If I hit the top of this thing, does it want to come down? After 2 days of work, we got a staircase that mostly doesn't squeak. At least now I don't have to worry about the stairs collapsing when the guys are carrying up sheets of drywall or something. So I originally didn't really have any work quoted for this back room. I thought I could just keep the existing structure, and boy was I wrong. There's not a whole lot left of this joist. The whole bottom here. Oh, that's termite damage. And here's the original pockets. Like, this one's in decent shape. This is just concrete at the bottom of it, but you can see that the concrete's been chipped away at. Yeah, here there's nowhere solid to put a joist. You'd have to just set it up on bricks. The joists here are pocketed into the masonry walls, but the support in these pockets was just crumbling, so I had to pour new concrete to support the joists and basically rebuild the whole floor. In this old kitchen space, there's also this weird bump out that was a later addition where they put the fridge. Originally, I was going to keep it as is, but very little was salvageable in this house. Man, once you start ripping apart, it's like a termite's paradise. Water gets in through the roof and through the stucco. It's all wet, and there's like 2 layers of drywall, layer of wood, another layer of wood, several layers of siding. It's no good. Next, we need to deal with this wood lintel supporting the brick, which is termite damaged and visually sagging, and that starts with a little bit of masonry. With the support for this new steel lintel in, we can remove the old and install the new. Just like that, ladies and gentlemen, the brickwork is all finished. Now you might be asking yourself, why would I go through all this for just 6 measly square feet? Well, it's a small house with a small kitchen with counter space just on one wall. I want to keep this main counter as clear as possible, so it's a great opportunity to make a little coffee nook with the 6 square feet available. All this work just for coffee, who could blame me? Now let's pour some concrete. It's about time I started to think about doing a little rebar here. right. This project was really fun for me because it was like building a tiny house, everything from foundations, framing, sheathing, flashing, siding, roof, you name it, it's all there. So it was a really cool experience to kind of learn a little bit about every trade. Good news, I got some caulk. After about an hour and 2 tubes of caulk, not only did we fill every crack and nail hole and joint in our siding, but I was also able to seal my hands, my legs, my shorts, my ladder, my chair, pretty much everything in the vicinity. We're gonna have house guests. The city of Philadelphia is about to be here for rough-in inspection, so we need to be thorough, we need to be clean. There's a million details at this point to keep track of, so make lists. Here's our list, but I'm sure there will be more. One of the things you have to pay close attention to is fire blocking. So we just did it. Inspector was just here, walked through the whole house. I have wonderful news to report. We passed, flying colors. In the inspector's words, he said, "It looks beautiful. I'll take it." And that means we can just keep on rolling to insulation and then drywall. Good morning, it's Friday, and I'm ready to start with the exciting task of wiring in the low voltage for Ethernet and LED strip lights and security cameras, all of that. All right, that doesn't sound like installing insulation, but of course, we have a long list to get through before we can install insulation. This. Whew, all right, we're pretty much done. Hear that? That's the sound of an insulated house. Insulation is one of those things that's just a no-brainer to hire out. I did the math on if I bought all the insulation at Home Depot, it would have cost like $2,500 plus waste disposal and labor. The quote for insulation was $3,500, and I think that is money well spent. Insulation sucks to work with, and they did in a day what would take me weeks. Although they did most of the house, I was able to jump in on some of the fun, doing some soundproofing with leftover rock wool insulation. Today is a massive day for the project in terms of finally making this place look a little bit like a home. It's drywall day. These guys think that they can knock out the whole house in a day, which is just unbelievably impressive, and I'm excited to watch them work. We're now caught up to the present moment. If you enjoyed this video and you want to keep up with the progress as we shift gears into this really exciting phase of finishing, where the spaces really come to life, consider subscribing because the project will continue with weekly videos, and eventually, one day, I'll be able to move into this house. Despite all of this work and all of this damage and a project that's way bigger than I thought it was going to be, I actually don't regret buying this house because I wouldn't have the confidence to do such a big project if it was up to me. I kind of needed to be forced into this situation, and thankfully I had the skill sets and the means and the time to dedicate to this larger project. And honestly, if it wasn't for YouTube, I think my financial situation would be a lot more precarious. Being able to create these videos and have an audience here online gives me that extra income that I wouldn't have otherwise, because all my time is spent working on the house, and sure, you have the chance of getting paid in equity down the line, but you can't pay your subcontractors in equity. So I just want to thank everyone who has been here, some of you since the beginning, and hopefully a lot of you finding the project for the first time. And I really hope you enjoyed this recap video. I put my all into it, and I tried to leverage these skills I have from architecture school to try to tell the story of this house in an interesting way. So with that, I'll see you next week.